Part 38. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 372. Sword Master Xuanhuan's voice gradually faded away. As he approached the inner city, ordinary people could no longer follow him. Apart from the patrolling Yanhuang Immortal Army soldiers, the only one nearby was still paying attention to him, and the only one nearby was Zhang Xuanhuan. Zhang Xuanhuan has a tall figure, wears Yanhuang immortal armor, has a resolute face, and looks like a general. He strode towards the inner city with Wu Yu, saying as he walked, "Wu Yu, I want to ask you, did you make a decision today, or did you make an impromptu decision due to the stimulation of the two sword masters? Before setting off, your mind has been made up." Zhang Xuanhuan smiled and said, "To me, this news is better. It shows that you are not hot-headed, but have really thought about it." Wu Yu nodded, "Of course." Nearing the inner city, Zhang Xuanhuan did not hesitate and talked about the details directly. He said, "Generally, becoming a Yanhuang immortal army requires multiple assessments. There are certain tests on strength, work, and character. But you are famous, so you can be exempted from this assessment. You can directly become a member of the Yanhuang Immortal Army, but there is a problem: you need to make your own choice. Please let me know." Commander Zhang. Wu Yu was now in a very calm mood. Even if it may happen soon, Shushan will be in turmoil because of his choice, and a certain woman in the Shushan immortal domain will be even more disappointed with herself. "It doesn't matter anymore," Zhang Xuanhuan said, "your strength is far beyond your realm. It is unique in the entire divine continent. According to your strength, you can directly enter the core of the inner city. If you have my recommendation, there is no problem in becoming a centurion. But if so, the Yanhuang Immortal Army will incide. Many people who are working hard to become centurions may have some objections. After all, some have already reached the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm, but have not yet become centurions. Of course, although there are objections, it will definitely not affect it. There is another option, which is to start as an ordinary Yanhuang immortal army. With your strength, you should be able to pass the examination through the internal channel and become a centurion. Centurions and above are the core of the heart and the core figures of Yanhuang Emperor City. Ordinary soldiers are allowed to leave before they become centurions. For Wu Yu, he would rather choose to start from scratch instead of relying on the convenience provided by Zhang Xuanhuan. So he said, "It doesn't matter. After all, I'm not up to the level, so I'd better start as a soldier." Zhang Xuanhuan was dumbfounded. In fact, he just said it casually. In fact, he was ready to become a centurion for Wu Yu. However, he also respected Wu Yu's choice. He smiled and said, "With your strength, none of the dozen centurions under my command can really shock you." "Oh no, you should have seen Commander Luo, right? In this case, you should stay under her for a while first. In about a month or two, I can arrange for you to become a centurion and give you 100 soldiers." "That's a good relationship," Ming Long smiled. She wished that Wu Yu could get closer to Commander Luo to see what the dragon wanted to do. Wu Yu nodded. After making the decision, Zhang Xuanhuan said, "Any disciple who comes to the inner city for the first time must first go to the Yan Palace to make some registration arrangements and receive the Yanhuang Immortal Armor and some related introductions to the Yanhuang Immortal Armor and the Yanhuang Emperor City. After that is done, I will take you to Commander Luo's Mosasong camp and leave you to her temporarily. You met her last time, and she also said that if you don't rush to become a centurion first." "Chief, I can arrange for you to go to her Camp Mosasaurus. Why did the other party notice me? Your physical body surpasses ordinary cultivators, and even surpasses her as an immortal beast. She is well informed and naturally has some interest in you. When you get along with her, never show that you know her true identity. Anything else is optional." Ming Long has been a lot more active recently and chatted a lot. One of the gates in the inner city is guarded by several centurions and hundreds of Yanhuang immortal army. There is also a centurion in the dark. Of course, this is also symbolic. After all, the magic circle in the inner city is extremely stable, even Xuanhuan. It is impossible for a sword master or other level to break in. Is this Wu Yu? Zhang Xuechuan, you are so quick. Jealous, I am so jealous of you. When entering the inner city, an old man with a long beard appeared. He was dressed similar to Zhang Xuechuan, with a wild temperament and dark complexion. This is Commander Li Shanhai. Hundreds of years ago, he was also a general in a remote fairy country. Later, he got good luck and got to this point. He was really lucky. Zhang Xuechuan laughed and introduced. Your grandma. Li Shanhai cursed him, and then said to Wu Yu, young man, I am optimistic about you. Welcome to Yanhuang Emperor City. We are the #1 in the Divine Continent. As expected, he was born as a general, and his speech was quite rough. After Wu Yu greeted him, he entered the inner city. When he came here, Wu Yu finally tasted the ancient spiritual energy that was comparable to the Shushan fairyland. Everything in front of him was truly a fairyland on earth. As expected, between the inner city and the outer city, the difference is huge. Unlike the prosperity of the outer city, the inner city still has a violent and murderous atmosphere. Obviously, this is the core of the Yanhuang immortal army. In the inner city, there are many functional areas and many forbidden areas. You will get a detailed introduction later, and just think about it for a while. Yan Palace is the place where every Yanhuang immortal army must go when they first arrive. When Wu Yu came to Yan Palace, he discovered that probably because he had announced that he would join the Yanhuang immortal army while he was away, there were actually a lot of people gathered inside and outside Yan Palace, all of them wearing Yanhuang immortal armor. Army, most of them are still centurions. Is this young man Wu Yu, who is rumored to be a big deal? Commander Zhang has indeed made a lot of money by taking him under his command. It's a great achievement. It's still early to say. We still have to see Wu Yu truly show his abilities. Let's see what kind of talent he has. Yes, after all, we in Yanhuang Emperor City also have many young super geniuses. They are not weaker than Shushan Baishan Mo and Nangang Wei, they are even stronger. While everyone was watching and discussing, Wu Yu followed Zhang Xuechuan into the Yan Palace. The furnishings in the Yan Palace were relatively simple, with not many unnecessary decorations. There was only a square rock table in front of it, with a dense array of magic circles on it. Behind the square table, there was a skinny old man lying on the square table resting, his appearance unclear. On the other hand, judging from the style of the Yanhuang immortal army, there were several strong men at the level of thousands of captains standing next to him, which was equivalent to the Shushan heavenly sword level. However, the style of their Yanhuang immortal armor was slightly different from Zhang Xuechuan and Li Shanhai. Zhang Xuechuan introduced that this was a person who worked in Yan Palace, not a captain, but someone who managed Yanhuang Emperor City, and was called a law enforcer. Under the direct jurisdiction of the city lord, they rarely perform tasks on weekdays, and most of them stay in the inner city. And the person lying on the square table is named General Bone. The Yanhuang immortal army has nearly 30 generals, each of whom is in charge of more than 10,000 commanders. Zhang Xuechuan calls them generals, and their combat power is comparable to that of Shushan sword master. Although General Bone is a general, he is not one of the nearly 30 generals. He is also a member of the city lord's lineage and specializes in doing things for the city leader. For example, General Bone is in charge of Yan Palace. In fact, they are all the same, but the division of labor is different. Wu Yu stared at the Bone General with awe. Judging from his keen sense, he felt that the Bone General had a strong evil aura and should be stronger than Xuanhuan sword master. General Bone, this is Wu Yu. From now on, he will be a member of our Yanhuang immortal army. You, Sir, should have no objections, right? After Jiang Xuechuan stepped forward, he raised his hands and said loudly. The Bone General heard the voice and sat up straight. Judging from his appearance, there was very little flesh and blood on his body, with many protruding bones. It was a bit ugly, a bit like a mummy, but his eyes were as bright as the scorching Sunday. His gaze was on Wu Yu. He glanced over his body and said in a dull voice, "Do you want to be a soldier, or become a centurion directly?" As soon as these words came out, the onlookers started to make noises. Apparently they had some objections to Wu Yu's direct appointment as a centurion. After all, when they were centurions, they still experienced great difficulties and completed their tasks arduously before becoming the core of Shushan. However, there was not much opposition. After all, Wu Yu was well known and not many people doubted his strength. Jiang Xuechuan said, "Wu Yu decided to start with soldiers, and I placed them in the Mosasaur camp of Centurion Luo Bin. Concubine Luo." It turned out that this was the name of Commander Luo. There seems to be a familiar feeling somewhere. It's done. General Bone didn't say much. He picked up a sumuru bag in his hand and prepared to throw it to Wu Yu. It is probably a must-have for newbies, including the most classic magic weapon of the Yanhuang Immortal Army, the Yanhuang Immortal Armor. After wearing it, not only does the defense increase sharply, but it also makes you look heroic. Actually, General Gu is usually not in Yan Palace. Today he made a special trip to see you. Jiang Xuechuan whispered in Wu Yu's ear. Obviously General Bone should be quite satisfied with himself, otherwise it wouldn't have been so smooth, especially since he chose to start as a soldier, so there shouldn't be anything to fault. Etc. Unexpectedly, someone stopped them at this time. When everyone saw the speaker, they saw that he was a young man wearing Yanhuang Immortal armor. The young man was tall and slender, with a very handsome face. Among the many centurions present, he was one of the focuses. That heroic spirit was much stronger than the others. With so many centurions present, he indeed looked the youngest. "This is General Gu's grandson, Gu Xian. He is a good man," Jiang Xuechuan introduced briefly. "Since he is a good person, why should he stop himself from becoming the Yanhuang Immortal Army?" The Gu Xian bowed slightly to General Gu, and then said to everyone, "I have heard about Wu Yu's deeds, and it is said that ordinary centurions are no match for you. Now that we have come to the inner city, our brothers are actually all I want to truly see Wu Yu's talent, so today Gu Xian is bold and wants to compete with brother Wu Yu on behalf of the brothers. I am considered the average among centurions, so I think if Wu Yu is better than me, he will directly become a centurion. He looks great, but it's normal for him to have a higher starting point. After all, we are the Yanhuang Emperor City, not Shushan, so we can't bury the genius. Do you think this is right or wrong, brothers?" After Gu Xian finished speaking, everyone applauded and cheered. Speaking of which, these centurions really just wanted to see what Wu Yu was capable of. However, at least they were friendly and gave Wu Yu a direct step to the centurion. "I'm a little tired from coding intensively for 5 consecutive days. Today I will work on the outline during the day and type the words at night, so there are 2 chapters in total today, so I can take a short break. Continue tomorrow." Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 373. Chapter 370, White Bone Spur. Wu Yu is not an idiot. He can naturally tell clearly whether it is a provocation or a friendly discussion. For example, if Gu Xian behaves like this, it is friendly. The surrounding Yanhuang Immortal Army had enthusiastic faces, and they were obviously curious about the famous Wu Yu. He is the second level of the Kanghai realm of Gu Xian's Zi Mansion, and is the grandson of General Bone. He is also a young talent of the Yanhuang Immortal Army, with outstanding achievements. A good man, if you have any ability, you must hide it. Gu Xian, if you dare to fight Wu Yu, be prepared for defeat. Although you are at the 4th level of Wu Yu's realm and have surpassed the Golden Core and Zifu, but I heard that Wu Yu can defeat Zifu Kanghai realm when he is at the 7th level of Jindan Dao realm, Jiangsu Echuan said with a bold smile. They roughly estimated that Wu Yu could fight against Gu Xian now. In fact, even if Wu Yu loses, it doesn't matter. After all, there are only a few in the entire Divine Continent who can overcome the 2-level gap and defeat the enemy. There are not many people who can do it here in Yanhuang Emperor City. Everyone's blood surged, waiting for Wu Yu's response. Good. Wu Yu did not disappoint them. He agreed simply and directly. Jiangsu Echuan said in his ear, since you have this opportunity, just regard this as a test for you to directly become a centurion. If you defeat Gu Xian in this battle, it can be said that you will directly become a centurion. No one in the entire Yanhuang Immortal army has any objections to the centurion's benefits. At least the Yanhuang Immortal armor is a super spiritual weapon. Ordinary Yanhuang Immortal army, such as Huang Yanwu, their Yanhuang Immortal armor is a psychic magic weapon, and its defense and other functions are not as good as the super spiritual magic weapon. Wu Yu's physical body is already extraordinary. If he is protected by the super spiritual magic weapon of Yanhuang Immortal armor, you can imagine how strong his resistance will be. Wu Yu looked at the Yanhuang Immortal armor worn by the centurions. It was really powerful and domineering. It was like the gorgeous armor of the unparalleled Monkey King. It was tough and domineering, especially the heavy black iron boots. Some of them can even be used as pots. Learn a great trick. Gu Xian's blood surged instantly, and his eyes were full of fighting spirit. Under the cheers of everyone, he strode in front of Wu Yu and made a gesture of invitation to Wu Yu. Wu Yu, the Yanhuang Immortal army, fight head on. We never do anything secretive or underhanded. As the saying goes, there is no acquaintance without fighting. Don't look down on me in the future just because I, Gu Xian, challenge you today. While Gu Xian was speaking, he took out a white spear from the sumura bag. A closer look revealed that the spear was made of bones, completely white bones. At this time, Gu Xian was wearing armor and looked very heroic. Coupled with this bone gun, it really feels like dominating the battlefield. Wu Yu. Don't be polite to him. If he dares to provoke you today, beat him to the ground. Someone laughed. No problem. Wu Yu smiled lightly and quickly got into the rhythm of the Yanhuang Immortal army. Gu Xian smiled and said, it's not that easy. Look at my new super spiritual magic weapon. I struggled for 3 years and spent 300 Kanghai Yuankai pills to buy it. This white bone spur I am still the first time. Wu Yu, I heard that your magic weapon has been returned to that Shushan beauty. Are you going to fight me with both hands today? He is also a person who loves this magical weapon, so when he holds the white bone spur, he is also very proud. Wu Yu smiled. 300 Kanghai Yuankai pills are equivalent to 300,000 yuan golden pills. It's very precious. There are at least more than 300 magic weapon arrays on it. As soon as this white bone spur appeared, most centurions were indeed envious. However, even Jiangsu Echuan sneered. Does he know what Zhang Tian gave Wu Yu? At this moment, Wu Yu stood in front of him, calmly, and rolled his hand. Suddenly, a long black and gold spiral-shaped eyebrow-length stick appeared in his hand. The long stick was very domineering, like a giant beast. Struggling in Wu Yu's hands, it buzzed. At this moment, Wu Yu suddenly placed the Yanhuang Optimus Prime on the floor. At that moment, the entire Yan Palace shook, and the ground where the Yanhuang Optimus Prime touched cracked. Yanhuang Optimus Prime. This super spiritual magic weapon is really famous. Wu Yu just took it out. Even many centurions recognized it directly and looked at Wu Yu in disbelief. When Gu Xian saw this Yanhuang Optimus Prime, I was also depressed for a while. Finally got a treasure. It turns out that other people's babies seem to be more powerful. A magic weapon is nothing, it has to be a real seal under your hands. Gu Xian coughed twice and said calmly. But everyone was already laughing. Put away your white bone spurs quickly, don't be embarrassed, someone laughed. Dare you underestimate me? Gu Xian was very depressed. Looking at Wu Yu, he was already ready to attack at any time. It has to be said that at this time, he was standing on the ground holding the Yanhuang Optimus Prime, motionless as a mountain, and full of domineering power. The two of them had a tacit understanding. It was already time to take action. Gu Xian calmed down. In fact, he didn't want to lose. After all, everyone was proud. Buzz. Gu Xian suddenly took action. I don't know what kind of Taoist magic he cast, but suddenly the outer layer of his body was covered with dense white bones. On top of the Yanhuang immortal armor, his whole body was also covered with a layer of white bones. His whole body was completely in harmony with the white bone spurs. Meld together. The bone Xian in front of him seemed to come from hell. After finishing, Gu Xian suddenly raised the white bone spike, and like a whirlwind, he aimed his gun directly at Wu Yu. His purple mansion Yuan power was so majestic that it stirred up the storm and suppressed Wu Yu. On the alchemy level, Wu Yu was indeed suppressed by it. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Boom. However, Wu Yu has Yanhuang Optimus Prime. When he lifted up the Yanhuang Optimus Prime, rotated and waved it, suddenly, the space trembled and the flame palace trembled, as if billions of kilograms of mountains were falling on the flame palace. Without further ado, the two have a direct and passionate duel. Everyone could only see a white light and a golden light colliding suddenly. This collision was an extremely harsh bombing sound. Boom boom boom. The three loud explosions represented the 3 times they had clashed in total. These 3 collisions of the magic weapons sent out shocking vibrations that shocked people's hearts. Both magic weapons are considered precious magic weapons, tit for tat. However, as expected, the Yanhuang Optimus Prime still suppressed the white bone spur. In the third confrontation, Wu Yu roared angrily. Although he had not yet activated the Fire Emperor's opening formation, he also used some magic formations to directly pull out the white bone spurs with terrifying power, and then press the stick on Gu Xian's head. Body. For a moment, the white bones on Gu Xian's body exploded one after another, and Gu Xian suddenly hit the ground. At that time, all the white bones were shattered, but the Yanhuang immortal armor was not damaged for the time being. Trauma. But at this time, Wu Yu's Yanhuang Optimus Prime was already pressed against his chest. Wu Yu only needed to hold on without using any strength, and it was difficult for Gu Xian to breathe after being suppressed by the Yanhuang Optimus Prime. Obviously, the winner has been decided. Wu Yu defeated his opponent purely by physical strength, coupled with Yanhuang Optimus Prime's Super God Heavy formation and Big Explosion formation. Among them, the Super God Heavy array made Yanhuang Optimus Prime extremely heavy, even 10 times heavier in an instant. Wu Yu operated the Super God Heavy array during the battle. Bone Xian's white bone spurs plus Zifu Yuan Li, can't stop it. As for the bones on his body exploding in the end, it was also because of Wu Yu's big explosion formation. Gu Xian took a deep breath and said sincerely, I am convinced that I have lost this battle. I admire you. I admire you. Hearing him admit defeat, Wu Yu quickly put away the Yanhuang Optimus Prime and pulled it up from the ground. At the same time, he collected the white bone spur and handed it to Gu Xian. His movements are clean and neat, how domineering. No matter where you are, strength is the foundation of an individual, so Wu Yu did not hesitate to show it after he came here. Of course, his performance at this moment not only did not disappoint everyone, but also surprised people, especially Jiang Xuanhuan. The merit of being recruited into the Yanhuang Immortal Army is also a great achievement. For a moment, everyone actually applauded. He defeated the enemy with force and lived up to his reputation. I admire him. Yes, with this ability, you can definitely become a centurion directly. There is no need to consider moral character, temperament, or will. From the confrontation between Wu Yu and Xuanhuan, we can see that this person is very emotional and adheres to principles. He is exactly the person our Yanhuang immortal army needs most. He directly became a centurion. I'm convinced. Gu Xian's participation in the battle could be regarded as getting some benefits for Wu Yu. At this time, he patted Wu Yu's shoulder and said loudly, "Brother, you hide the heart of a beast. I admire you." This battle will naturally spread among the Yanhuang immortal army. Zhang Suechuan said, "In that case, I will break into another camp for you under my establishment, and then assign hundreds of soldiers to you at your disposal." Wu Yu, why don't you thank General Gu? Gu Xian's challenge may have been inspired by General Gu. Wu Yu understood and quickly thanked General Gu. There is no need to thank me. In Yanhuang Emperor City, anyone who has the ability will have a chance to reach the top. General Bone did not give Wu Yu the original bag of Sumuru, but gave him another one. That's the Centurion configuration. Zhang Suechuan solemnly said, "Wu Yu, put on the Yanhuang immortal armor and swear an oath." The oath is simple. From then on, he became a member of Emperor Yan and Wang City. Once in Xusan, there seemed to be a saying that one is born as a person of Xusan and dies as a ghost of Xusan. Unfortunately, it seems to be a self-inflicted sentiment. Opening the Sumuru bag, there was a pair of armor inside, from the helmet to the full-body mail to the iron boots. Wu Yu sacrificed the Yanhuang immortal armor in front of everyone. The Yanhuang immortal armor naturally condensed on him. This Yanhuang immortal armor can not only change the size, but also change at will. If Wu Yu becomes an immortal ape transformation, he can increase the size at will, and he will no longer be afraid of tearing his clothes. Now, wearing this armor and holding the Yanhuang Optimus Prime in his hand, Wu Yu found that he was really a bit domineering, as if he had returned to the days when he defeated enemies on the frontier. Domineering, how domineering? I'll update chapter 1 first, there will be more tonight. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 374. Maybe it's because Yanhuang Optimus Prime was forged by Emperor Shui, and its color matches perfectly with Yanhuang Immortal Armor, making it look like a neat set. Wu Yu was wearing black and gold battle armor, black boots, and holding the heavy Yanhuang Optimus Prime in his hand. His eyes were like the scorching sun, and his breathing was heavy. Looking at him, everyone would feel a pressure. This is true even if his realm is far beyond that of Wu Yu. People never thought that in the world of monasticism, someone's physical body could be so powerful that it could even be directly transformed into combat power. Okay, let's disperse. Don't pile them up in the Flame Palace. General Bone stood up, with his hands behind his back, and soon disappeared into the depths of the Flame Palace. The Centurions exchanged a few words with Wu Yu without disturbing him too much. After all, there will definitely be many opportunities to meet Wu Yu in Yanhuang Emperor City in the future. Zhang Suechuan looked at Wu Yu, whose temperament and power had changed somewhat after becoming the Yanhuang Immortal Army. He praised him for a few words and then said, "Then let me go. I have to arrange a camp for you. That will also be your base camp in the future." Centurion has a large camp in the inner city. After leaving the Flame Palace, Wu Yu followed Zhang Suechuan as he walked in the inner city. The inner city is also very vast, and the ancient spiritual energy is very vast. While walking, many people on the road saw Zhang Suechuan and saluted quickly. Wu Yu was now also a centurion, so he naturally gained attention and respect. Zhang Suechuan is the commander of 1,000 men. Within the inner city, there is a place called Suechuan Territory, which is his territory. The camps of the centurions under him are naturally within the Xuanhuan territory. As Zhang Xuanhuan advanced quickly, he arrived at the Xuanhuan domain in a short time. This was a part of the inner city. The palace was densely packed with fighting spirit inside. Arrive. It just so happens that I still have 2 empty camps. You can choose one of them and give it a name so that my brothers can have a sense of belonging. Zhang Xuanhuan brought him to the 2 camps. The so-called camp is actually a palace complex with many venues, training rooms, etc., which is enough to accommodate hundreds of people. This is also the home of the soldiers of the Yanhuang Immortal Army. As long as they do not perform tasks on weekdays, they are qualified to stay in this camp to practice. Wu Yu randomly selected one and named it Kishan Camp. He is already used to using the word Kishan. On par with the sky, your ambition is lofty, Zhang Xuanhuan sighed sincerely. Within Kishan Camp, all facilities are complete. Regarding how to get familiar with Yanhuang Emperor City, the book given by General Gu has detailed introductions. Wu Yu only needs to read and understand. He is now a centurion. How a centurion manages soldiers, what resources he has, and how he survives in the inner city will be introduced in detail. I believe there will be a detailed introduction. There is no rush. You have become a centurion when you first arrived. I'd better help you recruit 100 immortal army under the seat first. After all, there will always be new people joining the Yanhuang Immortal Army. They are still waiting for the camp to be assigned. You recruit them. And also give them an opportunity to enter the inner city. Even if they can become the Yanhuang Immortal Army, they may not be able to enter the inner city. Those who can enter the inner city are all led by centurions. This group of people is more likely to become centurions in the future. Therefore, before getting familiar with the camp, Zhang Xuanhuan took Wu Yu to a base in the outer city, where there were thousands of Yanhuang Immortal Army members, none of whom had yet been included in the establishment. On a huge square, Zhang Xuanhuan and Wu Yu arrived, immediately alarming everyone. Young men, come out. Wu Yu wants to choose 100 people to follow him in the battle. As soon as Zhang Xuanhuan finished speaking, the entire base suddenly became commotion. There were even many Yanhuang immortal troops who had gone out. They hurriedly returned. There was no one to arrange it, so they stood together neatly, looking at Wu Yu excitedly and nervously. A legendary young genius. Sure enough, as soon as he entered the inner city, he became a centurion. Being able to become a soldier with a peerless genius is also the most urgent wish of the Yanhuang Immortal Army present. They have not been included in the establishment for the time being. They can only work as some insignificant people and receive very few goods. Wu Yu's appearance, unintentionally, can change the fate of some people. Everyone is standing still. Looking at these monks who were about the same age as himself, or even older than him, and seeing their nervousness and seriousness, Wu Yu seemed to have returned to the battlefield. He was also very serious. Since he had to choose, he would choose the ones he thought had the most potential. A group of people who are most suitable for him, so he did not select them casually, but personally selected them, so that everyone has a chance. He blended into the crowd and nodded when he saw satisfaction. There are thousands of people here, including the Yanhuang Immortal Army who are young, have great potential, and have many cards. Wu Yu has a certain vision. In the end, the 100 he selected are basically the best among these thousands of people. Meet Commander Wu. When Wu Yu recruited hundreds of people, the hundreds of people looked excited. When someone took the lead, they quickly knelt on the ground and shouted in unison. Enter the inner city. Wu Yu led them and quickly returned to the inner city with Zhang Xuanhuan. The 100 people were naturally very excited and looked at Wu Yu with more respect. Hundreds of Yanhuang immortal armies passed by in a mighty manner. The news that Wu Yu had become a centurion quickly spread throughout the city. When Zhang Tian got the news, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He felt that this investment was not worth it. You won't suffer a loss. After returning to the Kishan camp, the soldiers moved in on their own. They had all read the manual and even knew the inner city better than Wu Yu. Your current priority is to improve yourself. Just let these people practice, compete, and perform tasks on their own. You can busy yourself with your own affairs. Now almost no one in Yanhuang Emperor City dares to provoke you, so it is difficult to have real coercion. We are required to lead a team to carry out the task, and I have been idle for decades. Sometimes I go out to get some money, Jiang Xuanhuan said. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Therefore, recruiting this team of 100 people is actually just following the regulations, and it is not necessary to take them to practice. In fact, this team of 100 people, communicating with each other and uniting with each other, can even achieve the effect of Taoist couples. After all, they can come to such a place and become brothers from now on. Under Jiang Xuanhuan's reminder, Wu Yu selected the 10 strongest among the 100 people. Several of these 10 were even in the Kanghai realm of Zifu, but there was no quota for centurion yet. The possibility of becoming a centurion is relatively high until you reach at least the second level of Zifu Kanghai realm. Then you can challenge it. These 10 people were named corps commanders, each leading a team of 10 people, who could perform tasks in groups and gain merit. Wu Yu values their friendship very much. If everyone in a team is united, they will definitely be able to achieve 200% combat effectiveness. After settling in, Jiang Xuanhuan gave Wu Yu some basic talismans and said, you can also solve some simple and trivial matters. If you encounter something that really cannot be solved, just come to me, Jiang Xuanhuan, and there is no problem. Thank you, Commander Jiang. Jiang Xuanhuan is upright and generous. He is indeed a rare elder. No need to thank me. I just love talents. You still have to fight for the future by yourself, Jiang Xuanhuan said with emotion. After talking about this matter, Jiang Xuanhuan was about to leave, but he remembered another thing and said to Wu Yu, the specific settings of the inner city, the entire history of Yanhuang Emperor City, characters, etc., you can read the books on your own, I won't say more. There is a problem. You have to know that Yanhuang Emperor City is our harbor, but we cannot stay in this harbor forever. In fact, even I spend most of my time outside performing tasks and earning money. Merit. In the Yanhuang Emperor City, there are relatively few ways to obtain wealth except the gambling method you did last time. Wu Yu understood what he meant. He meant that staying in this harbor for a long time would be bad for everyone. However, it seems that Xuanhuan Sword Master has threatened you, claiming that she will do something to you as soon as you leave. In fact, this is just a way of intimidating you, so that you dare not leave Yanhuang Emperor City and cannot go to the real world outside. Hone your skills in dangerous situations and make you stagnant. This has achieved their goal. Admittedly, I still hope that you will not be afraid of them and boldly go out to chase. Even if you are really caught, it will be a matter of your life. If they were allowed to cower in Yanhuang Emperor City for decades after being threatened, then they would not be Wu Yu. However, Jiang Xuanhuan was relatively relaxed. He smiled and said, fortunately, our inner city has a direct passage out. Even the sword master of Shushan cannot grasp the exit of the passage. If you go out quietly, they will be dormant day and night. It's impossible to know outside. Of course, they can't waste their energy here. After all, they also want to save face. The only thing they have to tell you is that if they go out to perform tasks, it's best to keep a low profile and not be exposed in front of the world. Your own position, lest they find you after hearing about it. After all, the divine continent is so vast. As long as they don't see themselves, it's really not easy to find themselves in this vast world. Wu Yu understood. Jiang Xuanhuan also has good intentions, not only letting him know the existence of danger, but also letting you not give up the courage to go out. Of course, Wu Yu thought so too. He thanked Jiang Suechuan again. Jiang Suechuan simply left. The days ahead were long and there were plenty of opportunities to chat. In this Kishan camp, the hundreds of Yanhuang immortal army respect him. After all, he can be regarded as changing their destiny. Wu Yu spent more than 2 days memorizing everyone's name and their respective cultivation levels. I reorganized them according to their characteristics, and also gave them some training suggestions. I also gave them some magical weapons and Taoist techniques that I had eliminated. After all, he had been a general, and deep down he hoped that every soldier could exert combat power beyond his or her own strength. The so-called legion, we must always remember that the power of the whole will always surpass the individual. We are destined to gather here today. We are brothers and sisters, and close relatives of flesh and blood. From then on, we go to the battlefield to protect each other, fight side by side, and live and die together. For this fate, I'll do it. Wu Yu and these hundreds of people drank strong drinks. A fire burned in the center. The young monks had blazing faces and strong blood. Both men and women relaxed their body and mind and sat on the ground to discuss the Tao. Even under the guidance of Wu Yu, they competed and competed. In just a few days, Commander Wu, who was born to be a general, had already occupied an irreplaceable place in their hearts. Heaven-swallowing record author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 375. The Kishan camp merged into one within a short period of time, which indeed attracted the attention of several centurions nearby. I think back then, the centurions were busy cultivating on their own and didn't pay much attention to the immortal army. During this period, Wu Yu also had a thorough understanding of Yanhuang Emperor City, and had a certain understanding of some of the layout, rewards, punishments, and settings of the inner city. In fact, it is not far different from Xuanhuan immortal sect, but overall it is more free. Unless Yanhuang Emperor City is under a huge threat, there are basically not many mandatory tasks, and generally the Yanhuang immortal army can choose freely. Complete reward and punishment tasks to gain merit and the protection of Yanhuang Emperor City. As I write this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. And a noble status. In total, it has been nearly a month since the last meeting with Zhang Tian. Wu Yu went out to meet with Zhang Tian once. When they talked about the second issue of 40,000 yuan, he first asked Zhang Tian to give him a few days of grace. After all, he had just settled down. Qi Tian, after the battalion was on track, he was also ready to start completing the mission of Yanhuang Emperor City. Generally speaking, the achievements and rewards for the mission of Yanhuang Emperor City were greater than those in Xuanhuan. Of course Zhang Tian has no problem. After all, it took Wu Yu nearly a month to control the Yanhuang Optimus Prime, which is understandable. Moreover, Wu Yu was prepared to see if there was any high-paying task. He would try to spend more effort to pay off the debt as soon as possible. No rush, no rush. Between friends, we don't care about these details. Since Wu Yu became a centurion, Zhang Tian has become more generous. Not to mention a few days, even a few months, he probably won't say anything. The main reason is that Wu Yu himself is unwilling to lose his integrity. After returning to Kishan camp, he still had one important thing to do, which was to bury Xuanhuan Wu Yu. In a hill in Kishaning, all members of Kishaning arrived to bury Xuanhuan Wu Yu, a compatriot who died in a foreign country and was not allowed to return home. Wu Yu poured down the wine and said to the tombstone, "Today my soul has returned. I hope I can sleep peacefully for a long time." This is the end of Xuanhuan Wu Yu and the beginning of himself. Commander Wu attaches so much importance to emotions. "If we die in the future, I hope we can be buried here," a woman said with tears. "Silly girl, don't say such unlucky words. We follow Commander Wu and we are all going to become immortals. How can we die if we live forever?" One person laughed, and everyone laughed too. The atmosphere is relaxed. Okay, it's all gone. Wu Yu smiled and waved his hands. In fact, it was time for him to start and fight for the Yanhuang Optimus Prime in his hand. Moreover, the clones still need a large amount of elixirs to temper the golden elixirs themselves. The Centurion distributes 5 Kanghai Yuan Kai pills every month, but they are far from enough for Wu Yu to use. It would take 40 pills just to pay off the debt. It was dawn now, and the sky was about to light up. Wu Yu leaned on the grave of Huan Yanwu and took out the very ordinary stone he gave him. Except that it can't be pinched, it's really useless. Wu Yu pondered for a long time and found nothing. In fact, after he came to Yanhuang Emperor City, he often took it out and saw no movement. That egg may be just a figment of his mental disorder. After all, this stone doesn't make me stronger at all. After pondering for a while, Wu Yu put it into the sumuru bag. Suddenly, a figure pierced through from the distance and appeared in front of Wu Yu's eyes instantly. At that moment, like a wave coming, an intoxicating fragrance swept into Wu Yu's eyes, refreshing his heart and mind. Taking a closer look, he saw in front of him a centurion wearing Yanhuang immortal armor. Judging from this slim figure, he must be a beauty. Looking up, a pair of deep blue eyes instantly absorbed Wu Yu's gaze. In the whirlpool of her eyes, those eyes were like gems on the seabed, so perfect and crystal clear. And the long snow-white hair hanging down from under the helmet, flying in the breeze, is also so charming. Commander Luo. Wu Yu didn't expect that she would suddenly appear. It seems that her name is Luo Bin. Mingtaki said she was a divine dragon with noble blood. All the divine dragons are of noble blood. Moreover, he is also a terrifying being who has been seriously injured. His true strength is no weaker than that of the 7 immortals of Xuanhuan. Standing in front of such a fairy beast, Wu Yu was indeed a little nervous when thinking of its identity. Idiot, what are you doing with such a golden elixir? She definitely doesn't know that you have discovered her identity. This will expose yourself, Ming Long cursed. Wu Yu also realized this, so he adjusted his breathing and tried to face Commander Luo calmly. Yes, the other party nodded slightly, not saying much. She looked at the tombstone behind Wu Yu with her eyes, then looked at the excitement of Kishan camp, and said in a voice that made people feel very peaceful, "My Mosasaurus camp is right next to it, but it hasn't been as lively as yours in a few days." Wu Yu smiled. He was still a little uncomfortable in front of this dragon, and his behavior seemed a bit nervous when meeting the person he liked. Of course, Wu Yu now keeps away from beautiful women. He said, "Before practicing Taoism, I was a mortal general, so I am familiar with these routines." "Oh, that's it." Luo Bin stared into his eyes again. She must have come over for something, and judging from her personality, she didn't seem to be here to chat. "Sure enough," she said, "it is said that you owe some money. I am about to take on a mission. The requirement is 2 centurions. Are you willing to go with me?" This is. Wu Yu was a little confused. He was new here. Why did she come to him so quickly to go on a mission together? Of course, I am indeed poor and I do want to go out soon. She probably knew what Wu Yu was thinking, so she said, "Don't think too much about it, I just want to find someone who is not so noisy." This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. It turns out that I am just a less noisy person. She probably has been with someone before, but any man who meets her will try hard to find some topics to talk about. How many rewards are there for the mission? Wu Yu asked this first. After all, he owed a lot. The difficulty is very high. The reward is 200,000 yuan for merit, and each person will be rewarded with 100,000 yuan, Luo Bin said. 100,000, enough to support myself for more than 2 months. This harvest was more than Wu Yu imagined. It can be imagined that such a task would definitely be more difficult. If you are interested, please follow me to Yi Palace. Luo Bin's tone was very calm, neither cold nor hot. She did not deliberately stay away, nor did she deliberately approach. It was like just passing by and casually asking Wu Yu if he was willing. Of course Wu Yu was willing. Firstly, Ming Long really wanted to know the secret of this divine dragon and beast, and secondly, he was indeed short of money. He nodded and followed Luo Ben to leave the Xuanhuan territory and headed towards the Yi Palace. There are 3 places in Yi Palace, and they are all places where Emperor Yanhuang City releases missions. Normally, the Yanhuang Immortal Army goes to the Ziyi Palace, the Centurions go to the Zhongai Palace, and the 1,000 Centurions go to the Shanghai Palace. This is also the benefit of Wu Yu directly becoming a Centurion. He didn't understand this before. If Gu Xian hadn't come forward to challenge him, he probably wouldn't even be able to go to the Zhongai Palace now, and the tasks of Zhongai Palace are basically all it is, the beginning of tens of thousands of achievements. But it is difficult for Xiaoyi Palace to achieve more than 10,000 achievements. The 2 of them came to Zhongai Palace together. Since Wu Yu and Commander Luo, one was a man of great influence and the other was a mysterious figure who was taciturn, the 2 of them, who were completely unrelated to each other before, suddenly came together, which was quite surprising. Attract attention. Many people couldn't help but stare and discuss. Wu Yu directly became a centurion and defeated Gu Xian. It is said that he built the Qishan camp into an impressive one. His methods are very good. Why did he act with this mysterious centurion under Zhang Xuechuan? By the way, doesn't this centurion rarely come to Yi Palace to take on tasks? Why did he come suddenly today? I remember someone said that Commander Luo probably has a lot of money, so he doesn't need to do tasks at all. In fact, Wu Yu listened to these vague discussions in his heart. Ming Long, you said she doesn't often take on missions, but she came to see me. Is there any intention? Wu Yu asked. She will never see the inheritance of the Monkey King. What nonsense can she have against you? Does she like your plump body? Ming Long rolled his eyes. What do you think? Obviously she has no shortage of merits or elixirs, but if she wants to accomplish her goal in Yanhuang Emperor City, she naturally can't be too special. Therefore, even if she doesn't need it, she should still spare a certain amount of time to go out and become 1 or 2 characters. She behaves like a normal person. Obviously she won't have any friends in Yanhuang Emperor City, so she came to find you. What Ming Long said seems to make sense. As for why she found her, she also said that firstly, it was obvious that she was not noisy, secondly, she did have some special abilities, and thirdly, because Qishan camp happened to be next door to her Mosasaurus camp. When Wu Yu and Ming Long were talking, Commander Luo had already received a bamboo slip, which recorded the specific details of the mission. After she took it, she asked Wu Yu to come forward and see it clearly. However, after opening the bamboo slip, his eyes turned cold, his brows furrowed slightly, and he said to the enforcer responsible for issuing the task, "Why has someone already taken this task?" Wu Yu took a look and saw 3 crooked words carved on the end of the bamboo slip, Qin Fui. The law enforcer shrugged and said, "Obviously, she is 1 step ahead, but this task requires 2 to 3 centurions. If 3 people participate, each person will have 80,000 merits. The description of the task is vague, and there seems to be something inside. If the 3 of you go, you'll probably have a better chance." Wu Yu didn't care, it was just 1 more person and 20,000 fewer contributions. Luo Ben was silent and hesitated for a moment, but she seemed too lazy to look for other tasks, so she reached out and carved her name on the bamboo slip. The name she wrote could be said to be graceful and elegant, compared to the crooked Qin Fui next to her. 3 words, one is in the sky and the other is on the ground. Then she handed the bamboo slip to Wu Yu and said, "Take a look. If you want to go, just carve your name." It read, "I am the city lord of Yungzi City. A group of monsters will attack Yungzi City in the near future. The number of monsters is about 3. The strongest one does not exceed the third level of Zifukanghai realm. They are in urgent need of protection to tide over the difficulties. Wu Kei can block one of the demons. Please come and arrange it quickly. I am willing to pay 300 Kanghai Yuankai pills in return. 300 Kanghai Yuankai pills. If 3 people go there, it will be 240,000 merits and 240 vitality pills. It seems that Yanhuang Emperor City will still have to swallow some. Wu Yu didn't think the problem was big, and he was in urgent need of money, so he didn't care who this Xuanhuan was and just engraved his name on it. Lubin, Luo, the 4th tone, Pin, the 2nd tone. Don't pronounce it Robin. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 376. Chapter 373 Kamikaze Daoji. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. It was determined that Wu Yu, Luo Bin, and Xuanhuan would complete the mission of Yongzi City. Because Xuanhuan had first informed the law enforcers that they would gather at the exit passage of the inner city at noon tomorrow, Wu Yu and Luo Bin also used this time as their departure time. Before that, the two of them stopped staying in the Yi Palace and returned one after another. After entering the Sichuan territory, Luo Bin said silently, "In that case, I will come find you tomorrow and we will go there together." After all, Wu Yu was not particularly familiar with the inner city, so she needed to be a little more proactive. Luo Bin wanted to go back to her Mosasaurus camp, so Wu Yu temporarily separated from her. He thought about this task for a while, and judging from the few descriptions, it was indeed not very clear. Wu Yu didn't know much about Yongzi City. However, there is actually nothing to know too much about. You will know best when you go there. If you suddenly find that the task is more difficult than described, Yanhuang Emperor City has the right not to accept it. Seeking help from Yanhuang Emperor City, not many sects, cities, and clans dare to mess around. On this day, Wu Yu mainly spent time with his brothers and sisters from the Kishan camp. Seeing that they were competing with each other, it was very lively. He also participated in it, fighting hundreds of them by himself, and finally defeated Yanhuang Optimus Prime by relying on physical distance. All the Yanhuang Immortal army, including several Zifukanghai realms, were defeated. After the fight, everyone gathered together and listened to Wu Yu's insights on Taoism. They couldn't help but admire Wu Yu even more. "I will go out on a mission tomorrow. If there is something difficult to solve, please notify me with this talisman. If I am not here, we brothers and sisters must help each other," Wu Yu said. "I heard that Commander Wu and Commander Luo from Mosasaurus camp went to Zhongai Palace together today," someone asked. Wu Yu nodded. "It seems that any disturbance in the inner city actually spreads widely. That Commander Luo has never shown her face. She is so mysterious. It is said that she has been in Yanhuang Emperor City for many years and has always kept a low profile. Although her strength is not increasing quickly, she rarely fights with others and her temper seems to be quite good. I guess this Commander Luo must be a great beauty. However, it is said that Commander Zhang Xuechuan is interested in her, but Commander Luo seems to be unwilling to touch the matter of men and women, so he rejected Commander Zhang many times." Wu Yu could see this in the Fengguoxiyi Palace. She was a divine dragon, how could she agree to Zhang Xuechuan's pursuit? As for Wu Yu and Luo Bin, everyone didn't think much about it. They knew that Wu Yu had just left Shushan and Nangongwei, so they would definitely not think about such things again. "Are you two just going on a mission? The Yanhuang Immortal Army here have long regarded Wu Yu as their leader, and they probably care about him very much." Wu Yu said, "There is also a person named Xuanhuan. I have never seen him before, so I don't know who he is." Xuanhuan, unexpectedly, as soon as these words came out, hundreds of people on the scene exclaimed in unison, looking very surprised. Speaking of which, Wu Yu's time in Yanhuang Emperor City was shorter than all of them, and he didn't know many people. Is Qin Fui famous? Wu Yu was also slightly surprised. One of the corps commanders, who was older and already in the Kanghai realm of Zifu, smiled helplessly and said, Commander Wu is in Shushan, and he probably doesn't like to pay attention to outside things, so he doesn't even know Qin Fuhuang. This person is as famous as you in the land of Shenzhou. Speaking of which, Nangongwei and Baishan Mo from Shushan are very famous, but Qin Fui was famous long before them. In short, she is a genius on the same level as Baishan Mo of Shushan in Emperor Yanhuang's city. She is about the same age as you. She is now the second-level person in the Kanghai realm of Zifu, but her combat power is much higher than that. Wu Yu didn't expect that such a mission would involve such an existence. However, Luo Bin should also know her, but after reading her name, she had no reaction. This is actually normal. After all, her hidden identity as a young genius will not distract her. Speaking of which, Qin Fui is also a legend. She was just the daughter of a second-rate sect leader. When she was about 10 years old, that sect was in a power struggle and was destroyed by other sects secretly uniting with demons and ghost cultivators. She was left alone and alone. It happened that our General Qin passed by there and saw that she was pitiful and had some talent for cultivation, so he took her away and placed her casually in the outer city. Unexpectedly, after arriving at the Yanhuang Emperor city, that level of cultivation has soared, which can be called a miracle. It turns out that when he was a baby, he received the inheritance from the founder of the second-rate sect, the Kamikaze sect, Kamikaze Daiji. She was on the verge of becoming an immortal. Later, Qin Fui made the leap to this point, and General Qin accepted her as his adopted daughter just 3 months later. It turns out there is a story like this. When he was only 10 years old, people around him were already dead. This must be very painful for any child. The reason why she survived was probably because of the blessing of her ancestors, who left a bloodline and hope for the rise of the Kamikaze sect. In imagination, after this experience, Qin Fui should be an indifferent person, probably not easy to get along with. On the first mission, the two companions were both women. One was a fairy beast and a dragon with a secret, and the other was a top genius in Yanhuang Emperor City and a famous figure all over the world. This is also luck. Wu Yu didn't think much about it. He tempered the golden elixir all night. When it was close to noon the next day, Luo Bin was already waiting for Wu Yu at the gate of Kishan camp, and Zhang Xuechuan was also there. Wu Yu, I asked Luo Bin to look after you more. I didn't expect to find a suitable task for you so quickly. You have to thank her, Zhang Xuechuan said with a smile. It turns out that Luo Bin's search for him had something to do with his orders. Qin Fui is also with you. Wu Yu, remember to stay calm and don't let Qin Fui be charmed. This girl is lively and loves to tease young people. Hearing what Zhang Xuechuan said, Wu Yu didn't expect that he would be an indifferent person. Luo Bin didn't say much, and signaled Wu Yu to follow her. Wu Yu said goodbye to Zhang Xuechuan, and headed for the passage out of the city with his sword. He only saw the map, but never actually visited it, so he had to rely on Luo Bin to lead the way. Along the way, Luo Bin was indeed very quiet and never took the initiative to speak except for necessary exchanges. Wu Yu did not disturb her tranquility. He looked around and became more familiar with the vast inner city. When he saw some places, he roughly knew what they were and what their uses were. For example, some places could be visited directly, exchange magic weapons, fairy spirits, and Taoism. Of course, he couldn't get close to the core city lord's palace, the emperor's commander's palace, because it was a forbidden area. Soon we reached the passage out of the city. It turned out to be a vortex composed of black and golden cyclones. It was unclear what was inside the vortex. The vortex rotated violently. Many Yanhuang immortal army jumped directly into it and then disappeared. They probably left the city. Wu Yu noticed a crowd. There were about 6 or 7 centurions in the crowd, all middle-aged men. They seemed to be surrounding a woman and chatting happily. The woman in the middle made charming laughter from time to time. The laughter is like feathers teasing the skin, making people feel intoxicated. Such a voice reminded Wu Yu of the 9 Immortals. Although the 9 Immortals could not confuse him now, and the level was far less sophisticated than this woman's, at that time, listening to the 9 Immortals' words seemed to be the most beautiful enjoyment in the world for Wu Yu. The voice is like an aureole coming out of the valley, melodious, whispering softly and softening people's hearts. Listening to this voice, Wu Yu knew what Zhang Xuanhuan meant. This woman was Qin Fuegui. There are some women in the world who are extremely tempting to men. They are as gorgeous and charming as the 9 Immortals. Wu Yu, when he met the 9 Immortals, he was still a beginner in Taoism. What could still make him feel itchy and unbearable at this time was obviously a naturally charming person. This meant that he would not only be able to conquer the country, but also the entire continent of China. Shocking the world. When he fell, he took a closer look and saw a woman among the crowd. That woman was the only one Wu Yu saw in the inner city. There was no one wearing the Yanhuang immortal armor. In other words, she transformed the Yanhuang immortal armor. It turned into a voluptuous black and red long skirt, sweeping the floor. The waist was tightly cinched, which lightly outlined her charming figure. The fullness of her chest could be said to be ready to come out, her long legs were round, and her buttocks were voluptuous. It can be said that she has the figure of a devil. Looking at her face, she is as pink as peach blossoms, her lips are red and her teeth are white, her eyes seem to be able to speak, and they are shining brightly. Magic, on the contrary, it is practicing the righteous immortal magic. This kind of charm is indeed born from the bones, and it is worse than many fox monsters. Qin Fui. This woman is in striking contrast to the cold-hearted concubine next to her. Compared to the 2 pairs of eyes, one pair is as blue as a gem, a vast ocean, while the other one has thousands of charms, as if it contains thousands of emotions and raises an eyebrow. A wink and the world will be in chaos. When Wu Yu and Luo Bin landed on the ground, Qin Fui, who was chatting and laughing with the centurions in the crowd, looked at them. For a moment, her eyes met with Wu Yu's. At that moment, even the dead trees seemed to be ready for spring. I'd better not have any ambiguity with such a charming person, Wu Yu advised himself, so he calmed down a little. After all, there are concubines around her, and Qin Fui is not that outstanding. Dear brothers, my 2 friends are here, so I won't say more to you. In just one sentence, the Yanhuang immortal army wished they could fall under her skirt. Another chapter for today. It can be considered a small breakthrough. I hope everyone will continue to support genuine subscriptions, which is the biggest source of passion for Madman. Respect each other and thank you all. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 377. The beauty is as poetic as picturesque, and Qin Fui is unabashed and swaying. In the eyes of ordinary people, she is naturally more eye-catching than the tightly covered Luo concubine. She walked out from the attention of the crowd, twisted her slender waist, and floated over like a fairy. She said softly, "Why are you 2 here? Fui has been waiting for a long time. I met Sister Luo at the meeting, so I should know her Fu Wei. This handsome little brother should be Wu Yu, who is very famous recently. He is so handsome. Please take good care of him in the future. If you don't mind, just call me Sister Qin." She was actually about the same age as Wu Yu, but she acted like a sister from the beginning. Before she spoke, her eyes flashed seductively. Before she finished speaking, her eyes made everything she wanted to express clear. As long as she was not hostile to her, Wu Yu would naturally not offend her, so he nodded and said, "It's our first time meeting you, Sister Qin, please take care of her." At least it seems that the charming Qin Fuyu is more mature than him. "You're so sensible," Qin Fuyu giggled. She and Luobin basically didn't communicate much, and Luobin probably didn't like hearing her noise. Wu Yu was sandwiched between the two women. Seeing that their communication didn't seem to be smooth, he said, "Since everyone is here, let's go first, let's go." Qin Fui said, "Okay, along the way, I want to communicate more with my new good brother." Every voice, every expression of this woman is full of provocation and very intoxicating. Talking to her more requires some concentration. Wu Yu behaved well by being unfazed by favors and humiliations. Most young people his age didn't know how to speak in front of Qin Fuyu. Luo Bai did not show any dislike for Qin Fuyu. She was quiet and indifferent, but she was just too lazy to talk more. Therefore, Qin Fui stretched out her jade hand and pulled Wu Yu, while Luo Bin led the way. The three of them jumped directly into the whirlpool in a short while, and suddenly a strong turbulence swept Wu Yu towards the chaos. The direction of the scrolling was the effect of a magic circle. The magic circle was so powerful that it would probably send them far away instantly. Moreover, due to the different directions of the force, the three people seemed to be rolled in different directions. However, before entering the whirlpool, Qin Fuyu held Wu Yu's left hand. In the whirlpool, her long skirt was flying, revealing her snow-white jade skin. The scenery was pleasant, especially her charming smile, which made people feel angry. Brain. The next moment, another person grabbed Wu Yu's right hand. The tentacles of the palm were cold and soft, as if there were no bones. They were very delicate. It was a coldness that made Wu Yu feel calmer again. At first glance, it turned out that it was Luo Bin with only a pair of blue eyes exposed under the helmet, but she was not looking at him. Of course, they were dragging themselves along just to avoid being dragged to different places and to make things easier. However, on the left is the genius beauty of Yanhuang Emperor City, and on the right is the fairy beast Shenlong, who must also be a peerless beauty. There are people holding hands on both sides. Even Minglong has to complain about his beauty at this time. "I'm telling you, it's right to leave Nangong Wei. You see, in just a few days, there are two beauties who are no worse than her. One is so charming that even my mother wants to marry her. One is still a little female dragon, you are hugging each other, sleeping together, it is really wonderful, isn't it?" As soon as Minglong finished speaking, the three of them rushed out of the turbulent flow. In fact, there is a turbulent current under Yanhuang Emperor City, which can carry them to a farther place to facilitate the execution of tasks. The moment they broke out of the turbulent flow, both Luo Bai and Qin Fui had already let go. Qin Fui smiled, raised her eyebrows, looked at her fingers, and said, "My dear brother, you were so beautiful just now, both on the left and right." "She's a beauty." Wu Yu smiled awkwardly. He was very clear-minded now, but Qin Fui had been teasing him from the beginning. Next to her, Luo Bai was already flying in the air. She didn't know what method she used. Without any help, she flew directly above the high-altitude clouds and mist, heading towards Yongzi City. "I heard that Shushan disciples can move very quickly with their swords. Would you mind taking me with you so that I can feel it too?" Qin Fuhuang saw him move his sword quickly, so she jumped behind him and stepped on his up the sword. Indeed, Shushan disciples are notoriously fast on their way, and flying with a sword is the fastest way to travel. One more person will not slow down Wu Yu, but there is such a beautiful woman behind him so close to him. Even if the wind is surging, the fragrance of her body still surrounds her whole body. Her black and red long skirt is flying, and her black hair is flying. It makes it look very stunning, truly a beauty of its generation, unparalleled in the world. Fortunately, there is a mysterious dragon Luo Bin ahead. Luo Bin was concentrating on her way, but Qin Fuyu was enjoying herself. She was right behind Wu Yu, with her face less than a foot away from Wu Yu. She even stuck close to Wu Yu's back, put her arms around Wu Yu's waist, and said softly, "Sister, I'm afraid of falling, so I hold you, do you mind?" If she could fall down, the sun would rise from the west. Wu Yu chuckled. He was actually a little depressed. This woman was a beauty and was teasing him, but he knew very well that he must not be tempted by this, otherwise she would definitely be more difficult to deal with than Nangong Wei. Sure enough, her next question was, "I heard that Nangong Wei from Shushan is a peerless beauty. If a phoenix comes to this world, do you think it is Nangong Wei who is more beautiful, or Sister Qin? In fact, the two are not the same type, and there is really no way to compare them. Wu Yu, you can't be vague, you must answer me. Otherwise, Sister will throw you down from the sky." Qin Fuying leaned close to his ear and said. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. This won't work. Wu Yu thought about it for a while, and then said seriously, "Don't tease me. I have nothing to do with Shushan now, and I don't like to mention Shushan. After all, I am the Yanhuang Immortal Army now." Qin Fuying chuckled and said, "Don't be so serious, like a little old man, but what you mean is that Sister is not good looking." Good looking Wu Yu really couldn't do anything about her, after all, she was just playing around. "That's right, Sister likes this kind of simple and rough answer." Qin Fuying then let go of her hands around Wu Yu's waist. However, Qin Fuying did not shut up. Although she didn't tease him again, she chatted with Wu Yu along the way and basically asked Wu Yu about his experience. "Oh, I also found you pretty cool. Oh no, what if I fall in love with you? Will you become a Taoist couple with me? Let Nangong Wei be so angry that she vomits blood, okay?" Wu Yu's mind was blank, and suddenly an idea came to him. It seemed that Yongzi City was in front of him. He hurriedly said, "Yongzi City is here, so fast, haha." "Nonsense, Yongzi City is not far from Yanhuang Emperor City," Qin Fuying said in a delicate voice. This woman is a troublesome goblin. Although she didn't do anything, she made Wu Yu feel exhausted along the way. Luckily, Yongzi City did arrive. In a mountain in the distance, there is a snow-white city built on a high mountain. In the clouds and mist, it is like a flower blooming on a mountain. It should indeed be called Yongzi City. Luo Bin had arrived first. She was wearing Yanhuang fairy armor and looked heroic. Her arrival just now undoubtedly explained the identities of the three of them. Around Yongzi City, fairy mist rolled, and there were faint flashes of wind and thunder in it. Fire and rivers and seas swept across, blocking the way for Wu Yu and the other three to enter Yongzi City. Obviously, this was because they were about to be attacked, so they activated the heaven and earth formation to protect the city. After the three people arrived, Luo Bin did not like to take the lead. Wu Yu, as the only man, took on the responsibility of communication. He reluctantly served as the leader for a while, and said loudly, "Everyone in Yongzi City, we are the Yanhuang Immortal Army. We have accepted your request for the Yanhuang Emperor City and come to protect Yongzi City. Please open this magic circle and let us go in." From the magic circle, it is easy to see the appearance of Wu Yu and others. Maybe Wu Yu and Luo Bin don't know many people, but Qin Fuwei is very famous in the whole Shenzhou. And because of her moving beauty, she is also a topic of discussion. I'm afraid that the people in Yongzi City recognized her at once. In fact, when the three of them confirmed that they would take on this task, Yanhuang Emperor City responded to them with a communication talisman, reporting the identities of Wu Yu and the other three Yanhuang Immortal Army soldiers. They were all centurions, among whom Wu Yu was still at the 8th level of the Golden Core Avenue realm, Qin Fuwei was at the 2nd level of the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm, and Luo Bin's public data was the 3rd level of the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm, but who knew what realm she was in? Qin Fu Wei could probably even deal with the fourth level of the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm. Therefore, when the people of Yongzi City knew that the person who took on the task this time was the super genius Qin Fu Wei of Yanhuang Emperor City, plus Wu Yu, who had a huge reputation in Shushan, and Luo Bin, who was ordinary but not weak, they were almost completely relaxed, almost like a carnival. "Welcome, all three." A gentle female voice came from Yongzi City. Wu Yu had read the information about Yongzi City before. Yongzi City was actually a sect, and its city lord was named Mu Shui Yongzi. Mu Shui Yongzi has been practicing Taoism for 100 years, and now she is also in the third level of the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm. This kind of sect is considered to be above the fifth rate in the land of Shenzhou, not strong, but medium, while the Tongtian sword sect is the lowest. However, this sect is a little special. Yongzi City is a city for women, and never recruits men. Even men are completely prohibited from entering Yongzi City. Naturally, Yongzi City does not allow people in Yongzi City to have Taoist partners. The tens of thousands of cultivators in the entire Yongzi City are all women. The young women are self-reliant, which is also a scene. At this time, the heaven and earth formation opened, showing a passage, and Wu Yu and the other two quickly entered. Now that life and death are at stake, Yongzi City can no longer care that Wu Yu is a man. Counting it, Yongzi City has not had a man enter it for some years. Therefore, when Wu Yu entered Yongzi City, he saw tens of thousands of beautiful and charming female cultivators staring at him, and even the two around him were women. He was still a little overwhelmed. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 378. Looking around, tens of thousands of beautiful women are distributed on the four walls of Yongzi City, occupying the city protection formation, supporting the operation of the city protection formation and guarding their own homes. Among them were young girls, young beauties, beautiful women, and old women. In fact, they looked a little tired, but the arrival of Wu Yu and the others unintentionally brought them hope. Therefore, at this time, tens of thousands of women bowed to Wu Yu and the others and said, "We are waiting for the ascetics of Yongzi City. I have met Lord Yanhuang Immortal Army." Qin Fui didn't show her head at this time, and looked at Wu Yu with a smile. Wu Yu then stood up in front of the two beauties and said, "Don't be polite, you guys. We also accepted the mission and received your benefits. Come here now. This time, you don't need to be too polite. No matter what, we will try our best to solve your problems." He also got straight to the point and made it clear, so the people in Yongzi City seemed to feel more at ease. After all, they don't often seek help from Yanhuang Emperor City. After all, asking for help from Yanhuang Emperor City costs money. Soon Wu Yu met the city lord, Mu Shui Yongzi. This is a beautiful woman, gentle and charming, with a gentle smile, but she is tough in her bones. This reminds Wu Yu of his mother, who has a very vague impression. Therefore, he also has some favorable impressions of city master Mu Shui. In fact, Mu Shui respected Qin Fui the most among the three of them. But now that Wu Yu was standing in front and talking, she also led a group of women to Wu Yu, bowed slightly and saluted, and said, "Three of you are here at the right time. It's time. I've been feeling uneasy these past few days, always feeling that danger is about to come." In fact, she did not describe the task clearly. Wu Yu looked around for a week and saw that everyone seemed to be afraid. He said, "City Lord, we have no problem guarding Yongzi City, but you have to explain to us the ins and outs of this matter. We also have some confidence in the enemy." Mu Shui nodded and said apologetically, "I was anxious and didn't explain the matter clearly, so it spread to the Yanhuang Emperor City. I'm really sorry. My sister knows better about this matter, so she should handle it. Let the three of you tell." After she finished speaking, a woman at the first level of the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm stood up behind her. She was similar in age to Mu Shui Yongzi, and her appearance was also very similar, but she was not as dignified as her sister, but slightly sad. She said, "This happened about 10 days ago. It was when I and several other friends from the sect were wandering around and arrived at a place called Sorrowful Valley in the east. We originally heard that there was a kind of fairy spirit that happened to be the material we needed, but unexpectedly, we met 3 strange-looking figures there. They had a strong evil aura. We thought they were monsters, so we followed them secretly, but unexpectedly we heard them they said. What did you say? Xuanhuan was anxious and asked directly. The woman said, they said that it is said that Yongzi City is full of women. They love to taste women's hearts and lungs, so they have to prepare to destroy Yongzi City in a few days. I was scared at that time. I accidentally made a noise and was discovered by the other party. Several friends and I immediately decided to disperse and run away. There were 4 of us, and the other party had 3 monsters. Unexpectedly, I was the only one lucky because no monster chased me. I was lucky enough to escape from the Valley of Death, but my 3 friends all died there. When I went back to look for them, there were no bones left." After she finished speaking, her eyes were slightly red. It was obvious that she blamed herself for the death of her friend. After all, she was the only one of the 4 who survived. After Wu Yu listened, he asked, "Can you tell what kind of monsters they are?" The woman shook her head and said, "They are all in human form, so naturally they can't be seen. But they do have a strong demonic aura, and they must be demons. Only demons can be so crazy and covet my Yongzi city. The other sects are practicing Taoism. They all respect us very much." Wu Yu thought for a while and asked, "Do the demons know that you escaped? Do you know that you heard their conversation? If they knew, they might not come again, or they knew that we might come to help, so they spent all their energy. You won't show up until we leave." Although it was the first time to carry out a mission, the money was collected after all, and it was probably collected by the women of Yongzi City. It was not easy for them to protect themselves, and Wu Yu didn't want anything to go wrong with this mission. You absolutely can't be like Black Mountain Ghost Wing, who doesn't take any initiative at all. The woman pondered for a moment and said, "They probably didn't know how many of us there were at that time. I hid it well and probably didn't notice my presence. Those 3 demons are all ruthless beings. I guess they will definitely come of." Wu Yu nodded and said, "Our mission states that we must guard Yongzi City for 2 months, so we will be here for at least 2 months. If the demon does not come out for 2 months, we will discuss the follow-up matters. Yes, now, you can be sure that the demon's strength does not exceed the 3rd level of the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm." Mu Shui Yongzi answered this, and she said, "They have been following these 3 demons for a while, and it is almost certain that 2 of them are at the 3rd level of the Zifa Kanghai realm, and 1 is at the 2nd level of the Zifa Kanghai realm. 3 Don't worry, I can deal with the 3rd level Zifa Kanghai realm. All you need is..." Wu Yu shook his head and said, "The city lord has paid the money. All you need to do is stay here and guard the city protection formation. If an opponent appears, we will take care of it. Not to mention Qin Fui and Luo Bai, even if they are at the 3rd level of Zifa Kanghai realm, Wu Yu now dares to resist head-on. After all, he now has many trump cards." "Thank you all 3." Mu Shui Yongzi's eyes turned red when she heard this. She had heard about Wu Yu's story, and she felt that this young man was quite pitiful. But now that she looked at him, she found that he was heroic and neither arrogant nor impetuous. He also acts according to the rules and is not arrogant at all. He is indeed a very thoughtful young man. Mu Shui Yongzi soon continued to preside over the maintenance of the city protection formation, and Wu Yu and 3 other people hid in the formation, waiting for the demon to appear. Luo Concubine sat cross-legged on a tower, closing her eyes to rest. Perhaps she was comprehending a Tao that Wu Yu could not understand now. Wu Yu really wanted to understand this top fairy beast, but Qin Fui had been there all the time. Surrounded by. Qin Fui was very relaxed. According to the description, it was probably the demon, and she didn't take it seriously at all. Brother, what do you think of sister's hairstyle? She used many hair accessories and hairpins and fiddled with them for a long time. Her eyes sparkled and she looked at Wu Yu expectantly. It looks good, Wu Yu said. Insincere. I want you to comment on the details, I know they look good. This hair accessory matches your clothes very well and brings out your temperament. What kind of temperament do I have? Qin Fui raised a smile on her lips. Holy. Holy. I thought you were going to say coquettish. She giggled again, and her smile once again charmed the world. Wu Yu was so close to her that he really couldn't calm down. Wu Yu estimated that she would not stop teasing him even after this mission was over. Fortunately, just 2 days later, Qin Fui was still changing various clothes, hair accessories, shoes, and socks, when a strong demonic aura suddenly surged from the south of Yongzi City, and the black aura rolled in. It was very similar to the endless demon sea, very eerie. When they saw such demonic energy rolling in, the girls in Yongzi City were very frightened, and many young girls cried out of fear. Seeing that they were in a panic and slightly affecting the operation of the city defense formation, Mu Shui Yongzi was a little anxious and said loudly, "Children, don't be afraid, show your courage and strength and use our Tianyunxian formation with the power of our people fully unleashed. It is impossible for the monsters to attack and harm you by gathering the strength of our people. Besides, the 3 adults of the Yanhuang Immortal Army and I will protect you and defeat the monsters." After experiencing the initial fear, they became bolder. At this time, Wu Yu and 3 others had actually arrived at the south of the city wall. There are indeed 3 in total. Wu Yu took a closer look and saw 3 groups of black mist. In each of the black mist, there was a person with pale skin. The man had a pale face and sharp teeth at the corners of his mouth, like an evil ghost. He was full of demonic aura, his face was ferocious, and he was very ugly. He was also covered in a large black robe, which almost blended with the rolling mist. One for each person, leave the one on the right to me. This was the first time Luo Bin spoke in a few days. After she finished speaking, she rushed out of the city defense formation, turned into a golden and black light, and rushed towards the one on the far right. Of the 3 opponents, it seems that the one on the far left is the weakest. He is probably the 2nd level Zifukanghai realm mentioned by the city lord's sister. Luo Bin left the easiest one to Wu Yu. After all, Qin Fui's team is the strongest, so it is impossible to deal with the weakest. It's time to go out. The 3 losers who came here are not difficult at all. Qin Fui smiled sweetly, stretched out her hand to pull Wu Yu, followed Luo Bin, and the 3 of them quickly left the city protection formation. Outside the city defense formation, they were face to face with 3 demons. What kind of monster dares to come to my Yanhuang Emperor city to cause trouble? Isn't it your life? Wu Yu yelled. This can be completely prevented. Even if the few demons in front of him escape, they will not dare to come again because Wu Yu claims that this is the territory of Yanhuang Emperor city. Yanhuang Emperor city, Yanhuang Immortal Army. The 3 demons were originally very menacing and were rumored to be very ferocious, but Wu Yu never expected that after encountering them, the 3 demons would turn around and run away. The key is that they also fled in different directions. If they chase, Wu Yu and the other 3 will be separated. Where to escape? Qin Fui went after the middle one first. We can't let them escape. Seeing this, Luo Bin also caught up with his opponent. Quickly intercept them, lest a 4th demon appears and attack from east to west, and we are diverted away from the mountain. Wu Yu knew in his heart that he could catch up with his opponent near Yongzi City. Sorry for being so late, there will be another chapter updated after 23:00. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 379. Chapter 376 3000 Evil Souls. Although the other party ran away as soon as they met and dispersed, Wu Yu and the others still pursued them quickly. Such a task must not allow the other party to escape safely, otherwise it will take a lot of time to spend with the other party. Wu Yu and the others don't have this time. Besides, Wu Yu was the slowest in pursuit. Luo Ben chased him from the beginning. It was obvious that the demon was not as fast as her. She would probably be able to catch up in less than 30 breaths. So does Qin Fui. Wu Yu estimated that from the place where he caught up with his opponent, he could still see Yongzi City, and could more clearly observe Yongzi City's city defense formation. As long as the city defense formation was not broken, Yongzi City would be fine. Besides, Mu Shuiyun 11 was also guarding there. Wu Yu asked her to stay there to prevent accidents in Yongzi City. Not only can the signboard of Yanhuang Emperor City not be destroyed, but the tens of thousands of cultivators in Yongzi City cannot be allowed to suffer disaster. Don't even think about leaving. Wu Yu did not control his sword, but ran wildly on the ground. Due to the terrifying physical strength of his body, he ran violently during the relay. Every time he relayed the relay, the ground completely collapsed, and with the force of the counter shock, he was like a golden sword. In the blink of an eye, he 10 miles. Although the demon was flying in the sky and ran very fast, compared with a physical mad demon like Wu Yu, even if it had the second level of Zifu Yuan power, it was completely inferior to Wu Yu. Yu set off billowing smoke and dust on the ground. Under the impact, it was as if the ground was turned over. The sound was huge and shocking. The girls in Yongzi City felt much relieved when they saw that the terrifying monsters in their hearts had escaped. Stop. Boom. In less than 20 breaths, Wu Yu had already rushed under the demon like a madman. He roared angrily, and the sound shook the city of Yongzi. Suddenly, Yanhuang Optimus Prime appeared in his hand. The Tianzu was instantly in his hands, transforming into the real Optimus Prime, which was dozens of feet tall. He held the Yanhuang Optimus Prime in both hands, and suddenly waved it, one pillar holding the sky. The giant pillar soared into the sky, tearing the air and letting out a piercing scream. In an instant, it smashed into the demon and slammed the demon directly to the ground. Wu Yu chased after him in an instant, and in the blink of an eye, he was face to face with the demon. Among the three, Wu Yu was the first to catch up with his opponent. Wu Yu paid a little attention. He was intercepting in front of his opponent, so Yongzi City was also in front of him. At this time, Yongzi City was safe and sound, and was shocked by Wu Yu's speed. In the distance to his left was a dense ancient forest. Qin Fui and his opponent probably rushed into the forest. Her opponent probably wanted to get rid of Qin Fui through the forest. As for the concubine Luo on the far left, Wu Yu was not worried about her at all. After all, she was a fairy beast. As for Qin Fui, there is nothing to worry about. Defeating your opponent is enough. In front of him was a man in black robes, with demonic aura rolling around his body, and a thick black aura surrounding him. That pale face, ferocious expression, and boring voice made Wu Yu realize that something was wrong. Yanhuang Immortal Army, haha, the other party stared at Wu Yu, knowing that he was not as fast as Wu Yu, so he couldn't leave. Wu Yu focused his gaze and discovered some details. It turns out it's not a demon, but a ghost cultivator. He saw it. What surrounds this person is not the real demonic energy, but the breath of the endless demonic sea, which is mixed with demonic energy and miasma. It is collected by this person and released around him, which certainly creates a feeling that makes people think they are demons. Illusion. But in fact, he is not a demon at all, and he cannot transform. The Black Mountain Ghost Wing Wu Yu encountered before also did the same, so he had experience and recognized it immediately. It's a ghost cultivator again, doing evil things as a demon, and then blaming the blame on the demon. Wu Yu thought of the huge casualties caused by the Black Mountain Ghost Wings, and became furious. Since the other three dared to deal with Yongzi City, It is estimated that before he has committed many serious crimes. You have good eyesight, but it's a pity that you don't live long, the ghost cultivator shouted sharply and took action without mercy. 3,000 evil spirits. This is the magical power of the great Dao. Wu Yu has indeed rarely seen the magical powers of ghost cultivators. As far as he knows, the magical powers of ghost cultivators are indeed very difficult to deal with, because most of them are extremely vicious. For example, these 3,000 evil spirits, as soon as they are used, suddenly 3,000 shadows rushed out from the ghost cultivator's body. They were ghost figures one by one, screaming, howling, screaming, crying like crazy, forming a dark storm, heading towards Wu Yu comes with a sudden attack. If he was entangled, even the current Wu Yu would probably die by having his soul devoured. But now Wu Yu happens to have a way to restrain the opponent. Court death. His body suddenly stepped back, but with a flick of his hair, 10 golden hairs suddenly appeared, and with a bang, 10 Wu Yes transformed in front of Wu Yu's eyes. Xuanhuan's shocking swordsmanship. 10 Wu Yes used the mysterious immortal shocking sword technique at the same time. 10 sword chi charged into the storm of black evil souls. In an instant, these 3,000 evil souls were directly torn apart by the 10 mysterious techniques of heaven and earth. The magical power of the Great Avenue is gone. Bow down. At this moment, Wu Yu's Xuanhuan Optimus Prime had more than 10 clones. When the shocking sword technique tore apart 3,000 evil souls, it passed through and instantly hit the ghost cultivator's chest. Super God Heavy Formation and the Big Explosion Array were operating at the same time. The ghost cultivator howled miserably, his chest exploded, flesh and blood flew everywhere, his whole body crashed through 10 mountain peaks, and the sky was filled with smoke and dust. Wu Yu didn't kill anyone for a long time. He suddenly appeared in front of the ghost cultivator. The ghost cultivator was dying, covered in blood, and only had half his life left. Wu Yu didn't kill him. He always felt some doubts in his heart. What was the other party's purpose? Wu Yu put his Xuanhuan Optimus Prime on the opponent's forehead and asked, "Who are you? Why are you attacking Yongzi City? You have the guts to come to hell and ask me?" The ghost cultivator laughed and spurted out blood. Suddenly black flames burned on his body. In an instant, he was completely reduced to ashes. No corpse was left behind. It was still Wu Yu acted quickly and directly picked up his samurai bag, otherwise he wouldn't have gained any wealth at all. He is so determined to commit suicide. He must have done a lot of unscrupulous things. I'm afraid there are not many good people left in the world. However, since he is unwilling to tell the reason for committing suicide, what is his purpose? What? Wu Yu thought hard and couldn't figure it out. He opened the samurai bag and took a look. Sure enough, there were too many evil things inside. He didn't know how many dead souls were used to forge them. Except for the more than 80 Kanghai Yuankai pills, most of the other things Wu Yu had no use for. The property captured from the opponent during the mission belongs directly to him. Wu Yu got more than 80 Kanghai Yuankai pills, which is equivalent to 80,000 attacks. In other words, the mission was completed, and the 160,000 merits were obtained, and he owed Zhang Tian the 360,000 yuan of golden elixir was almost half enough. However, because I have doubts in my heart, I can't be happy for the time being. He glanced at Yongzi City. At this time, the people in Yongzi City probably cried with joy after seeing him defeat his opponent. There was nothing going on in Yongzi City, so Wu Yu didn't hesitate and went directly to Qin Fuhuang. Logically speaking, Qin Fuhuang should be the easiest to deal with his opponent, but in fact, he didn't seem to be as fast as Wu Yu. Wu Yu quickly rushed into the forest. He could only follow the evil spirit to find it. It was obvious that the second ghost cultivator was also nearby, but there was no sound of fighting. Could it be that Qin Fuyu could kill his opponent quietly? Wu Yu climbed through the forest like an ape. There was very little movement this time because he was not sure about the situation here. Suddenly, he felt that the demonic energy collected by the ghost cultivator was very close. At this moment, he suddenly accelerated, rushed over, and suddenly came to an area. In a short moment, he discovered the ghost cultivator. The ghost cultivator was shrouded in among the black robes, facing Wu Yu. He stood on a branch, motionless. Wu Yu's appearance obviously surprised him. What surprised Wu Yu was that Qin Fuyu stood in front of the ghost cultivator, with her back to Wu Yu. At this time, she slowly turned around and saw Wu Yu. She smiled in surprise and said, "Wu Yu, why did you get here so quickly? Have you dealt with your opponent?" The ghost cultivator was unscathed. Wu Yu was surprised. Why didn't Qin Fuyu take action? After he directly intercepted the ghost cultivator, such a demonic ghost cultivator could never be let go. Qin Fuyu seemed to have noticed Wu Yu's doubts. She said, "Are you surprised why I didn't kill him?" Wu Yu nodded, but was always wary of the ghost cultivator. Gui Xiu's face was pale, his forehead was sweating, and he didn't dare to move easily. Qin Fuwei smiled softly and said, "Are you saying that you still owe Zhang Tian some money, so you are anxious to go out to do the task? I will give you a chance. If I kill him, you will not be willing to accept my offer yours, so after thinking about it, I left this opportunity to you. Do you dare to fight with the third level of Zifukanghai realm, kill people, and seize treasures?" At the third level of Zifukanghai realm, Nangongwei had just appeared at that time, and it was this strength that defeated Shenzing Yu. Wu Yu had just received more than 80 Kanghai Yuankai pills from a ghost cultivator. To be honest, although this was a battle that challenged the limits and might even lead to defeat, Wu Yu was still moved. At the same time, his doubts disappeared. No wonder there has been no movement from Qin Fui's side. It turns out that she had already intercepted her opponent, restricted his movements, and kept it for herself. She also knew that she was arrogant inside, and she definitely didn't want to get it in vain, so she left it to Wu Yu himself. Deal with. He probably also wanted to see to what extent Wu Yu's peak abilities were. After all, Wu Yu didn't use all his strength when dealing with Gu Xian. Then, just leave this person to me. Wu Yu took out the Yanhuang Optimus Prime and swept it away. A large area of the surrounding forest fell to the ground, and a huge open space appeared. Yongzi City also saw the situation here. At this time, Luo Ben seemed to have solved her opponent and appeared outside. "How?" Wu Yu asked. "He committed suicide after defeat," Luo Ben said. "Another suicide?" Wu Yu fell in front of the ghost cultivator and said, "Take action." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 380. Qin Fui really left her own opponent to herself. This ghost cultivator is at the third level of the Kanghai realm of Zifu. It will indeed be easier for Qin Fuyu to deal with him. Now that Qin Fuyu is in front, Wu Yu is behind, and Luo Ben is still in the sky, the ghost cultivator obviously understands that he can no longer escape. So he thought about it. You want to fight me at the 8th level of the Golden Core realm? The ghost cultivator felt that this would be a joke. But how did Wu Yu deal with his companions at such a fast speed? That Yanhuang Optimus Prime looks like an outstanding super spiritual weapon at first glance. If I die here today, I can just drag the Yanhuang Immortal army on my back. The ghost cultivator gave a sinister smile. At this moment, the strong wind was surging and the black robe was flying. The third level of Zifukanghai realm's Zifu Yuan power swept away, forming a huge oppressive force and shrouding Wu Yu's body. For a moment, Wu Yu was dragged into hell. Wanfu Gui Cha. As he flipped his hands, a super spiritual magic weapon suddenly appeared in his hand. It was a jet-black harpoon, which was sinister and cold. A closer look revealed that the super-spiritual magic weapon was covered with densely packed tiny human faces, and their expressions were very expressionless. Twisted and ferocious, as if boiled in a pan of oil or burned by fire. Tens of thousands of human faces make up these 10,000 floating ghost forks. This super-spiritual weapon can barely compete with Yanhuang Optimus Prime, which shows that its power is not weak. No matter how you say it, you are not satisfied with Gu Xian's white bone spurs. Fighting with ghost cultivators has always been very simple and straightforward. Ghost cultivators practice the evil way. The battle between cultivators and ghost cultivators is basically a direct separation of life and death. Obviously, after leaving the Shushan Immortal sect, the cultivators in Shenzhou will hate ghost cultivators more than demons. Because the most tragic things are often done by ghost cultivators, and those 4 islands in Dongyang are often hell on earth. The seven-eyed ghost absolute transformation. After taking control of the 10,000 floating ghost forks, black smoke rose from the ghost cultivator's body again. The smoke suddenly surged and engulfed everything. During this process, the ghost cultivator's body was also changing. Suddenly he transformed into a 6-foot-tall man. Giant. Purple scales grew on his body, and scarlet bone spurs protruded from his fingers, elbows, knees, and spine. The most terrifying thing was that his face turned into green-faced fangs, and there were actually 7 bowl-sized eyes were randomly embedded in the ugly face. Each eye was shining with a cyan light, and there were many white shadows shaking inside, like ghosts. In his hands, even the 10,000 floating ghost forks became much larger. Roar, the transformed 7-eyed ghost stared at Wu Yu with all 7 eyes. When he was looking at him, he really entered hell. This reminded Wu Yu of the devil's eyes. The ghost cultivator in front of him directly used his magical power to show a similar method. Kill. When he looked at him, Wu Yu felt the sinister power of the soul penetrate into his eyes. He quickly closed his eyes and visualized the mental ape to clear his mind. This is a difficult opponent, and Wu Yu knows in his heart that he must defeat him with a fierce attitude. The longer it takes, the more dangerous it will be. Moreover, Qin Fui and Luo Bai were still looking at themselves. In front of such 2 peerless beauties, especially with a dragon, it would be really ugly if they were defeated. Good brother, hurry up and let me see if you are strong. Sure enough, Qin Fui's laughter came. Her charming laughter stirred the heartstrings, which made Wu Yu gradually get rid of the 7-eyed ghost. Eye effects. Immortal ape transformation. Wu Yu suddenly changed. In front of the 2 beauties, he transformed directly into a rough golden ape. This time, he passed on the Yanhuang immortal armor. The Yanhuang immortal armor would change due to his body shape. When Wu Yu transformed into the golden ape after that, the mighty and domineering Yanhuang immortal armor still wrapped his body. At this time, he was holding the Yanhuang Optimus Prime and bathing in the golden fire. He indeed looked more and more like the Monkey King. It's great to be a man. It doesn't matter if I turn into the stinky monkey. If I turned into this monkey, I would scare myself to death. Ming Tong was envious and disgusted at the same time. Of course, Wu Yu doesn't smell bad at all. He has a domineering and scornful air, as well as the fire burning in his eyes, bursting out with an extremely strong spiritual will. Boom! The moment the immortal ape transformation was completed, the 7-eyed ghost and Wu Yu quickly attacked each other. At this moment, the 2 seemed to be fighting at close range, causing the world to tremble. The powerful force caused a large number of forest riots before the war started. Tear apart and explode into sawdust flying all over the sky. Boom! For the first time, the 2 of them clashed with Yanhuang Optimus Prime and Wanfa Ghost Cross, which caused violent shocks. Even the ground sank directly, and pieces collapsed. Even Yongzi City in the distance was greatly affected. Yongzi City roared, and tens of thousands of women on it were nervously and expectantly watching the final battle between Wu Yu and the seven-eyed ghost. I remembered who he was. He turned out to be a disciple of Xuanhuan. It is said that even the Tianji sword immortal was preparing to accept him as his disciple. It seemed that he also fell in love with the daughter of Qiang sword immortal, but he was expelled from Xuanhuan because of his friendship with the son of the demonic infant emperor. I didn't expect to join Yanhuang Emperor City so quickly and become a centurion. Mu Shui Yungzi finally remembered Wu Yu's identity. She obviously also knew that where there is such a terrifying Jindan Dao realm, it can only be the legendary Wu Yu. It's him. Many people remembered. He just joined Yanhuang Emperor City after being expelled from Xuanhuan. Is this okay? This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. I don't know, but he will definitely be shamed by many people. After all, he will be suspected of being a traitor who deceives his master and destroys his ancestors. However, after just communicating with him, I think this young man is very sincere and responsible. Anyway, he is now helping us, Mu Shuangzi said. Someone else said, but isn't he in a very good relationship with Nangang Wei? Why did he get close to Qin Fuyu when he just arrived in Yanhuang Emperor City? Mu Shuangzi said, don't talk nonsense about this, they just happened to take on a mission. Encountering the third level of Zifu Kanghai realm for the first time, Wu Yu really tasted the opponent's extremely surging Zifu Yuan power. In terms of the duel of inner strength, Wu Yu really suffered a lot. In the first confrontation, if it weren't for the Yanhuang immortal armor, he would probably have been seriously injured. Even so, he was still bombarded and hit the ground, causing the ground to almost collapse. Die! The seven-eyed ghost roared again, and its seven eyes erupted with dazzling oil-green light. Holding the 10,000 floating ghost fork, it suppressed and killed again. Wherever the light in the eyes hit, no matter what it was, it melted directly into green liquid. Wu Yu quickly got up. He had already tested it and he knew it well. Boom! He held Yanhuang Optimus Prime with both hands and waited for the seven-eyed ghost to arrive. Whoosh! The extra-legal clones were activated, and 10 clones appeared in front of Wu Yu, each holding a magical sword. Suingxian's shocking swordsmanship. 10 sword energies started fighting again. This was the direction Wu Yu used to defeat the ghost cultivator just now. The 10 clones instantly dispersed around the seven-eyed ghost. Under the cover of Suingxian's frightening swordsmanship, Wu Yu instilled all the alchemy and moved the magic circle of the Yanhuang Optimus Prime. Suddenly, he surged up and attacked the opponent with the 10 clones. Emperor Yan opens the sky formation. In the midst of his angry roar, the magic circle at one end of the Yanhuang Optimus Prime moved crazily. In an instant, flames spurted out, and countless golden flames shot up into the sky. Wu Yu held the Yanhuang Optimus Prime in his hand, moved the magic circle, and waved suddenly, sweep away. The essence of this Yandi opening heaven formation is the sweep. The essence of the Yellow Emperor's ground formation was smashed. In fact, the most fundamental aspects of the stick technique are these two movements. The formation of the open sky swept across the open sky, and the Yanhuang Optimus Prime swept across, gushing out with rage. At this time, the seven-eyed ghost was attacked by Suingxian's frightening swordsmanship. Just when his mind was tingling, he suddenly encountered the Flame Emperor's opening heaven formation again. Boom! He blocked Wu Yu's stick with his thick right arm. Suddenly, under the sweep of golden flames, that right arm was blown to pieces. After all, Zi Mansion's UN power was far inferior to the opponent, so even the Flame Emperor's open heaven formation was not able to completely defeat the opponent. Moreover, it also angered the seven-eyed ghost. The opponent roared violently, and the 10,000 floating ghost forks pierced him. However, the moment after Wu Yu knocked the seven-eyed ghost off his feet with one sweep, he got violent again. Violence. At this moment, under the immortal ape transformation, his arms suddenly became thicker, and the huge strength of his body was undoubtedly doubled. Now Wu Yu, wearing Yanhuang immortal armor, looks like a crazy demon. Yellow Emperor's ground formation. On the Yanhuang Optimus Prime, the light shines, and the golden light is extremely dazzling. If the golden color explodes, it will instantly engulf hundreds of miles around, and the entire Yungzi city will be engulfed in the golden light. This caused the monks in Yungzi city to no longer be able to see the battle scene. And the seven-eyed ghost was naturally submerged and completely trapped in the golden world. At that moment, Wu Yu struck down with a stick. Even if the opponent was blocked by thousands of ghosts, his whole body still exploded. With a cry of pain, the seven-eyed ghost fell to the ground. Only then did the golden light disappear, but people saw that the seven-eyed ghost had turned back into a ghost cultivator, covered in blood and even bloody. He was obviously even more traumatized and had lost most of his life. Wu Yu was still an irritable golden ape, and suddenly fell next to his opponent. When his Yanhuang Optimus Prime landed on the ground, the earth suddenly trembled. After using the violent technique, he still felt weak, but Wu Yu still held on. He was afraid that this ghost cultivator would commit suicide. But it's still a step too slow. As soon as he came down, the ghost cultivator looked at him with a sneer, and then black flames suddenly burned on his body, engulfing him instantly, leaving only black ashes. Wu Yu really didn't understand why these ghost cultivators could face death so calmly. However, the opponent still committed suicide. He had been able to support himself to the limit until now, and then he released the immortal ape transformation. This battle consumed a huge amount of money, mainly because the Dan Yuan was much different from the opponent's Zifu Yuan power, so Wu Yu basically, after using all his cards, Fang defeated his opponent. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qingyang. Chapter 381. Wu Yu naturally realized that the most important thing for him now was to improve his level. Although he is not very old, he is still at the 8th level of the Golden Elixir realm, and there are still too many differences between people. The advantages of the physical body, the golden body of Namo Baya King Buddha, will also weaken as the realm increases. However, we finally defeated our opponent. Now the scene was silent. Wu Yu turned around, and Qin Fuyu was already standing in front of him. Her eyes were surprised and charming, and she said sweetly, "So you are so rude. My sister likes you like this. There are many people pursuing me, but among them, none of them has a younger brother who looks so violent. It's so endearing." Wu Yu calmed down. Faced with Qin Fuyu's temptation, he was self-aware, but she liked to tease others like this, so he should not take it seriously. He smiled and said, "Sister, you are a peerless genius. Naturally, no one in the world is worthy of you. You're really good at flattering, but I like to hear it." Qin Fuyu giggled, so charming that she was charming to the core. Wu Yu glanced at Luo concubine in the sky. Her expression was still cold. Unlike Qin Fuyu, who was so exaggerated, Wu Yu couldn't help but ask in his heart, is it possible that she is not surprised that he has crossed 5 realms and defeated the opponent? However, the most puzzling thing in my heart is why these ghost cultivators immediately pursued and killed them after they were defeated, without giving Wu Yu the slightest chance to know their purpose. Don't you think it's strange? Wu Yu asked about this issue. Qin Fuyu said, "Don't think too much. Most of the ghost cultivators are crazy and will destroy a city all based on their mood. As for committing suicide, I'm afraid we are worried about questioning them. After all, they all have some companions, but they may not be able to do it. It's just nearby." Companion, Wu Yu then wondered whether the ghost cultivator would come again after he and others left. "Don't worry, our Yanhuang Emperor City has collected Yungzi City's money. If word spreads, there will no longer be ghost cultivators who are so short-sighted and come here. That is provoking our Yanhuang Emperor City." Qin Fuyu was proud. Said. Then she started to go to Yungzi City. Wu Yu and Luo Ben followed. Luo Ben didn't say anything and had no objection. Wu Yu thought about it and hid his doubts. After all, he was a novice and had no qin. Fuyu is so familiar, and since Qin Fuyu has said so, there shouldn't be any mistakes. While heading towards Yongzi City, he secretly checked the seven-eyed ghost's Sumuru bag. The ghost cultivator is really rich. The harvest this time is really big. This seven-eyed ghost actually has more than 200 Kanghai Yuankai pills in his hands. Normally in his realm, he would not carry so many treasures. It can only be said that ghost cultivators often commit murder, arson, burning, killing and looting. Especially those who come to Shenzhou risk their lives to plunder. It is not too exaggerated to have such money on them. After all their wealth will be with them. Ordinary Zifu, the third level of Kanghai realm, would be pretty good if he has more than 50 Kanghai Yuankai pills in his body. For example, Wu Yu, before coming to Yongzi City, was in debt of more than 300,000 yuan in gold elixirs. In this way, Wu Yu calculated and added the 80,000 yuan of merit, the 360,000 yuan of golden elixir he owed could be paid off. After paying off, there are still more than 20 Kanghai Yuankai pills left. This mission was indeed a huge profit. Of course, it was fortunate that Qin Fuyu gave up her opponent to herself, otherwise there would be no such extra gain. In fact, Wu Yu didn't know that among the 3 tasks in Yanhuang Emperor City, dealing with ghost cultivators often resulted in great additional gains, but there was also more danger of death. Next are demons. Demons generally don't have much property and are also very dangerous. The worst thing is to deal with the cultivators of other sections generally. When they see the protection of Yanhuang Emperor City, they will retreat directly. Even if they fight, the people of Yanhuang Emperor City will not be able to kill their fellow practitioners, so this type of mission the oil and water are the least, and generally not many people are willing to take it unless they have a lot of merit. Of course, this type of mission is the safest. After all, no one dares to kill the Yanhuang Immortal army in public. During a mission, he accidentally paid off his debt and gained this huge wealth. Wu Yu was in a good mood. He finally summed up the experience. It seems that Zhang Xuanhuan is right. If you don't go out to fight, it will be difficult to obtain cultivation resources if you stay in the Yanhuang Emperor City. How can this path of cultivating immortality not involve a life and death fight? Of course, as long as they come out, it means danger. There are still many Yanhuang Immortal army who died outside while doing tasks, especially when fighting ghost cultivators. They are most likely to die, because ghost cultivators are not afraid of offending the Yanhuang Immortal army at all. When they arrived at Yongzi City, the city lord of Yongzi City led many women to salute Wu Yu and others to express their gratitude. Mu Suiyangzi said, "Thank you for your hard work, you 3. Now that the 3 demons have been killed, I have just sent a message to Yanhuang Emperor City to confirm that the 3 of them have completed their mission. After the 3 of you return, you can directly receive your achievements. Generally speaking, the employer does need to confirm the completion of the mission before you can receive the merit." Qin Fuyu smiled slightly and said, "Very good. Then we'll leave first." In fact, Wu Yu still didn't understand something in his heart. He was about to communicate with Mu Shuiyongzi about the follow-up matters, but at this time Qin Fuyu had already said goodbye to him, and he was very satisfied with the mission, so he didn't say anything more. He noticed that this time it was basically his own performance, so most of the female monks in Yongzi City were looking at his only man. Wu Yu's strong performance just now shocked the girls. The women's fighting was never so simple and rough. It's just that Wu Yu is a controversial figure, and some people still can't understand why he joined Yanhuang Emperor City so quickly. Therefore, their eyes are also somewhat complicated. Even they were like this. You can imagine how Shusan would scold Wu Yu when he heard the news. It is estimated that the Qiang Sword Immortal was so angry that he vomited blood and regretted not killing Wu Yu on the spot, so that Wu Yu would now embarrass the Shushan Immortal sect again. Mu Shui Yungzi thanked her again and again, with a sincere expression. Now that Yungzi city was unscathed, they really felt that the money was well spent. Before leaving, Luo Bin suddenly said, "I know something about the magic circle, and I can help you strengthen the city protection magic circle to prevent Yungzi city from facing danger again and being unable to resist for a long time." Mu Shui Yungzi had somewhat ignored Luo Bai. After all, she was just a relatively ordinary centurion. But now when she looked at his eyes and long hair, she immediately realized that this centurion who rarely talked was also a mysterious figure. Offering to help, she naturally nodded quickly. She must have been practicing Taoism for a long time, maybe even 1,000 years old. She must have a very good understanding of the magic circle, Wu Yu guessed. Sure enough, she spent half a day raising the city protection formation to a higher level. Because Wu Yu had not yet dabbled in the heaven and earth formation, he could not see it clearly. But he could clearly feel that this magic circle had indeed improved a lot. "I heard that you have strong attainments in the magic circle. It is true." Qin Fui looked at Luo Bin and said with a slight smile, "It's not worth mentioning." Luo Bin responded coldly. Wu Yu glanced at Luo Bin a few more times, and he found that although she said little, she was actually very kind. She was probably worried about whether there would be ghost cultivators attacking Yungzi city again. After all, there were some doubts today. It's just that Qin Fui is the most experienced after all. If she said it's okay, then the matter shouldn't be too big. However, before leaving, Wu Yu still gave Mu Shui Yungzi a talisman and said, "If there are any other ghost cultivators who offend in the future, you can send a message to me. If I am free, I will try my best to come and have a look." "Thank you, Commander Wu." Mu Shui Yungzi was a little confused before, but seeing Wu Yu being so attentive and doing extra things, her eyes became more grateful. In this way, the three people left Yukong. Luo Bin still left first, while Qin Fui stepped on Wu Yu's sword and headed towards the Yanhuang Emperor's city with his sword. "Tisk, tisk, you can even deal with the third level of Zifukanghai realm. You are really a pervert. When you get to Zifukanghai realm, how can you still do it? Aren't I even your opponent?" Qin Fui whispered in his ear. He said with a smile, "Today was just a fluke. I almost lost my life." Wu Yu would not be complacent about this. "Okay, but starting from this mission, we will be good friends from now on. Next time I want to go out to play, I will come to you. How about it? Maybe we will be alone." Qin Fui became more and more after talking about it, the voice became more ambiguous. Wu Yu could only think about it, otherwise this fairy-like woman would really make people uneasy. "No problem. I am willing to be the flower protector." Wu Yu calmed down and smiled lightly. Although he didn't want to get too close to Qin Fui, there was no need to alienate her. It would be a good thing if they could really become close friends. Wu Yu remembered in his heart that she gave him a rival today, so he let Wu Yu take two. There are more than 100 Kanghai Yuankai pills. They were talking and laughing along the way. After all, Yungzi city was not far away. Soon they arrived at Yanhuang Emperor City. To return to Yanhuang Emperor City, you still had to enter through the city gate. Wu Yu looked around and it seemed that Sword Master Xuanhuan and the others did not stay around Yanhuang Emperor City. They didn't have this time either. After entering the Yanhuang Emperor City, Luo Bin disappeared first. Wu Yu and Qin Fui entered the inner city together, attracting many people's attention. Don't think too much, they just went on a mission together. People saw that they were close, but they could only comfort themselves this way. Qin Fui was absolutely the heartthrob in Yanhuang Emperor City and the dream lover of all the ascetics of the right age. The perfect Taoist companion in my heart. Of course, most people are not good enough for her. When they arrived at the Yi Palace, Luo Bin had already received the merits and left first. Wu Yu and Qin Fui each received the merits. Wu Yu ran to the Dan Palace and exchanged all the merits for Kanghai Yuan Kai Dan, which was enough. More than 380 Kanghai Yuan Kai pills. Before that, he and Qin Fui separated, and Qin Fui gave them several contact signs. She seemed to have something to be busy with, and after the mission was over, she didn't bother Wu Yu. Wu Yu then left the inner city and came to the Yongxiao temple.